Hi, I'm Chaplain Larry Crabtree with the Maryland State Police and St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office.
And I'm Chaplain Charlie Wharton with the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office.
So Charlie, what is community policing and how does community policing play into all of this connection with emotions and communication and attitudes as we work together?
Community policing is where the law enforcement agency is involved in the community, not as somebody who comes in and rescues the community, but as an entity that's there as a part of the community. It's a philosophy that promotes organizational strategies that support partnerships and problem-solving techniques. In other words, it's being a part of the community in which we work. It's not riding in as the cavalry and solving all of the problems and then riding back out again. It is coming together as a part of that community and addressing crime and social disorder and even the fear of crime that may or may not be real.
So Charlie, interesting what you just shared. This is, if I'm understanding what you're saying, are you communicating then that being a police officer isn't about getting a call and then you going in and you fixing it in the way that you think needs to be addressed? Am I hearing you say that's something different?
It is, and if I can use something from my family life to illustrate this point, it is very easy for me when my wife, when Jeannie gives me a problem or talks about a problem, I'm a fixer by nature. I want to go in, I want to fix her problem. Unfortunately, my solution and my resolution may not be what she wants to hear. I come at it from a Charlie perspective, she comes at it from a Jeannie perspective, and we're not always on the same page.
Because that is basic marriage counseling information right there. Because men and women are different, and we each have different expectations and desires, and we understand things differently. So are you saying that's true in the community as well?
I'm saying that's very true in the community. You look at what communities want. You look at the social nature of communities. They want to come together. They want to have meetings. Traditionally, you look at law enforcement and what do we want? We don't want anybody else's input. You give us the problem, we'll fix it. Just the facts, ma'am, we'll fix your problem. That does not play well in today's environment. I don't know how well it played back in the day, but I will guarantee you that in today's environment of working together and the complex nature that we're living in today, we can't afford to be the outsider that comes in. We have to be a part of the infrastructure.
So the community has some buy-in in this problem solving.
You know, the interesting thing is we need to look at it the other way. As law enforcement, we have the buy-in for the community issue.
That's a very different perspective than I think most people have.
It is, because especially in law enforcement, we want to bring them in. We need to be the ones going to them.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I think that's very helpful. If you listen to what you've just said, that next call you get, you're going to think about it a little bit differently. That's a good point.
What do they need from me? Not what do they want from me. What do they need from me to be able to help them solve their problem? Sometimes it's an arrest. Sometimes somebody needs to go to jail.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are other tools in our toolbox that we need to rely upon. We talk in counseling a lot about asking people what their expectations are. What do you expect to get out of this? What do you have that can help solve this problem? And as a law enforcement agency, we got to ask that same question of the community. One of the things that we do very well in law enforcement is we kind of stop the clock. When we show up, we have the ability to say, time out, let's slow everything down. All right, now, what do we need to accomplish here? Are there times when we need to be there and we need to be there fast and we need to fix things and we need to make something happen? Sure, there are those times, but there are a lot more times when it's let's slow things down. How can we work on this problem together?
So Charlie, is this something then that administration should be doing, or is this what a patrol officer does when they take a call?
To quote you, yes. Both, it's got to be from the bottom up and the top down. When I first started, I was lucky to start in law enforcement, really in the golden age of community policing. I think there were a lot of things that were going on in the latter part of the 90s, the early part of the 2000s, that really promoted communities working together in cohort with law enforcement, and bringing together partners, bringing together stakeholders, and making our communities better. Some things happened over the next several years, I think, that kind of took our focus away from that. But what we're hearing now, the calling that we're hearing now in our communities is, let's come back together. And if law enforcement doesn't do that, we're going to be the ones on the outside looking in. We're going to keep hearing things like defund the police and we don't want you as a part of our community.
Yeah, good point.
We got to be listening.
Good point. And I think we do have some of that. We're chaplains. So in a lot of ways, agencies are looking to partner with churches. So there's some input that comes from us that goes back. So it's not like it's all bad. There are some things that are very positive we're already seeing moving in this direction. I know I appreciate that.
I do too. And you start to ask yourself, who are our stakeholders? When you take a step back from an agency perspective, and I think even from an individual officer perspective, who are the people that can bring the answers to this? Sometimes it's law enforcement, but a lot of times it's not. There are some things out there that you can't arrest yourself out of. You know, you've got to bring in those other entities and help you solve the problem that's going on in the community.
Yeah, excellent insights, excellent insights. Charlie, anything else that would be helpful in this topic area to consider?
The key is partnerships. That is, to me, that's the number one word in law enforcement. We've got to listen to each other because so many of our problems are so complex. It's not just one simple answer that we can throw at it. When you look at an issue in a community, you have to ask, is it drugs? Is it violence? Is it guns? Is it poverty? Is it homelessness? Is it a combination of all of the above? Juvenile justice is one of my favorite things in which to work because the juvenile justice system does this pretty well. They bring together all these different partners and these different stakeholders. Folks, the bottom line to this is we've got to develop trust with one another. As law enforcement agencies, we have to trust our communities that they're going to be there for us. And we have to be trustworthy enough to be able to go into these entities and into these communities and say, we're here with you. It's not us against you. We're in this together.
And again, that's the key. So we're talking about not us versus them. It's we. We are doing this together.
It's our community.
Important. Excellent. Well, as we sign off for this week, our wish to you, as always, is be strong.
And be safe.